An ode to people who don't believe in themselves. What comes first, belief or action? Do you need to believe that you can do a thing before you can do it? Fake it until you make it is one option, but incredibly hard if you're introspective and have low self-belief and high standards. So what about make it until you believe it? Here are some lessons that I've learned. You can believe you're not worthy of a thing and still attain it. You can be adamant that your efforts are going to go badly and still succeed. You can grip and grasp and fear and it ruin the enjoyment and be totally unwarranted and things still go well. You can have no self-belief and show up anyway. You can want more for yourself without knowing exactly what that looks like. You can doubt the process, question your talent, be uncertain that you're making progress, disparage your accomplishments, permanently feel like you're not working hard enough no matter how hard you work, never give yourself a break, fail to fully feel gratitude, be terrified of never reaching your goals, and still end up in a place that your 20-year-old self could not imagine you'd ever get to. Self-belief is overrated. Generate evidence, says Ryan Holiday. And this resilience of doing good things in spite of you not believing in them or believing that they're going to happen is pretty miraculous. That for all that I can say, you need to, I'm questioning whether or not it's virtuous to do something virtuous if you don't feel like you had any other choice. Ultimately, you can get to a place that you'd be very surprised by, regardless of how motivated you feel to get there. Like, the world really only knows the actions that you take. It doesn't know about the internal state until that then shows up in the way that you actually perform. So, yeah, some things to keep in mind. Number one, don't grip life so tightly. Being too serious creates a kind of brittle fragility, which a playful attitude insulates you against. Your goal is dynamic persistence over the long term. And taking things seriously gives you a huge advantage in bursts, but chronic seriousness makes you rigid and at risk of blow up. Question from Joe Hudson from the start of the year was, what would this be like if it was 10% more enjoyable? When you're sat in a meeting, when you're having a conversation with your partner, when you're playing sport, when you're doing something that you love or something that you hate or something that's in between, what would this be like if it was 10% more enjoyable? Matthew McConaughey said, make a sense of humor your default emotion. Number two, don't be so worried about winning that you forget what winning is supposed to feel like. Is your presiding feeling when things go well one of happiness and satisfaction or one of relief? Is it joy or simply the abatement of fear? And after a while of winning, you realize that how you win is more important than if you win. How you feel during the event is more important than the outcome of the event. How the people who read your work are impacted is more important than how many people are impacted. You can't be so terrified of failing that even the act of winning is made miserable. And number three, it's all vibes. Ultimately, you are doing things not to say that you've done them, but for the experience of having done them. When you look back, it's the experience itself and not just the outcome that matters. Sure, outcomes are more important than inputs, but vibes are more important than all of that still, because that's what you're going to remember, your felt experience of it. And one of the big determining factors in how you feel will be the outcome. I'm not saying that you need to forget about winning, forget about your desires and your goals and just like enjoy the moment under a tree on fucking psilocybin. You still need to go and do the things, but do not derogate how important the actual process and making sure that you enjoy it is. And oddly enough, optimizing for how you feel detaches you from caring about the outcomes, but is the very thing that will drive outcomes the most. And if it doesn't, what do you care because you're enjoying it? And number four, emotional pain is a hell of a teacher, but it won't kill you. Would life be easier if you didn't feel everything so very deeply? Perhaps. But the only reason you're getting the outcomes that you want is because of your depth of thought. And as bad as it feels, this that you're going through right now is the breadth of human experience, and you're alive, and your inner landscape is a fascinating world to explore. So act with curiosity. And what you are doing right now, your goals, the desire for attainment, your attachments to this world, they're hypotheses to be tested, not ideologies to be proved. And number 5, is your goal to survive or thrive or flourish? Because you have probably dealt with everything that life has thrown at you so far. Do you think that it's because of the way that you grasped and controlled and feared and ruminated? Or could it be because you're a capable, competent, gifted person and the world is fundamentally fair, and over a long enough time horizon, most people get what they deserve? Number 6, you're doing this for you. And this is something I've only realized relatively recently, but after a certain level of material comfort, the only person that you need to do this thing for is you. Your conscience knows when you're being honest and when you're not. I think optimizing to make that person happy, that conscience happy, is a really good idea. You should basically be the person that your mum thinks you are, or the person that your younger self wanted as a role model. Brave, courageous, earnest, honest, virtuous, like on fire. There's this quote from the ancient Greeks that says, live as though all your ancestors were living again through you. I really love that. This sort of, we judge people based on how much life they can tolerate, how much feeling they can deal with and carry and enjoy. And that's something that we should all try and have more of in ourselves, being that person that your younger self wanted as a role model, or being the person that your mum thinks you are. I think is a good rubric. Thank you very much for tuning in. If you enjoyed that clip, the full-length episode is available right here if you hurry up and press it. Go on.